There we go. I do believe we're live. So I'll say indeed and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. What a dear pleasure it is to have you here again on another conscious evolution. On day 1 of May, if I may, I'll let you know that I have made a decision. I have come to the conviction that it's time for me to take a moment not smoking. Yes, indeed. I am decidos that May will be no smokos. And there definitely is a part of me that feels a certain sense of I should go and get something. Even like literally, when I came and sat down, I had everything, my microphones, my external screen, the cushion, the camera and setup. And then I went back to my computer room and then I stood there and I was like, I don't think I need anything else. Usually I go and get my Dynavap and stuff. So that is a little prelude to what we actually want to talk about today. And that is this chapter that we're in. Seeing your life as a big old grand book. Hey, you amazing humanimals. Nice having you here. Thank you for joining us, Kristen. Seeing your life as this grand book, right? This fullness of an experience that you get to carry around with you, right? And some people might not particularly appreciate the certain chapter that the book is in, right? I sure do find myself in a chapter, at least the chapter as it relates to my immediate environment, not necessarily being something that I particularly enjoy, right? I don't find hope, I don't find a great deal of excitement, I don't find a great deal of certainty in being here, all right? Quite the contrary, I just feel this sense of when is this chapter over? And that is definitely something to consider, right? I feel like it is a rough place to find yourself in, to want the chapter to be over with, right? It's a rough place to be in, to feel like you don't have control over what's happening in the chapter. I feel like that's definitely something that influences me as well. But I think the hardest part is the fact that when the chapter ends, right, certain narratives, certain stories, certain experiences ends alongside that chapter too. Right, and I feel like there is something to be said. You see what I did there? There's something to be said about that too, right? It's a little bit sad that we have to move away from certain experiences when the new chapter comes. There definitely is this part of me that's been in a place of desperation, quite literally, from a place of desperation, I guess is the correct terminology, trying to make sure everything is going to be okay, right? It's very difficult for a person to believe that things will be, especially these days, because we find ourselves with so much tension, right? In that way. Let me ask this question. I'm going to turn on search results. Today we're talking about the chapters of life. And I'm sharing with my friends this difficulty, in so many words, that is experienced in this chapter of life as it relates to our willingness and understanding that things will potentially be, in so many words, okay. I live in South Africa, and there's a bunch of race-based laws. And recently, there is laws that got signed into our constitution, or I'm not sure if it's constitution or if it's just a bill that got passed. But there is now the opportunity for property to be confiscated, any property to be confiscated with null compensation, without being given anything in return. So basically, just stuff gets taken from you, and there's nothing that you can do. Right? There's no compensation for you to expect. And like that is a small microcosm. And I would like you to fact check me on that and let me know what that's all about. But I also want you to help me consider this chapter that we're in as a species right now. If you had to see it from a perspective of a book, that our story as humanity is this grand book unfolding, what chapter are we in right now? What's the next chapter going to be? What can we look forward to? You know, my heart breaks for my fellow South African people. It's hard to see the level of hopelessness gripping our people. Maybe I can give them some hope in reading them the potential next chapter. Hey, Jovan, pointing to Kristen, saying an amazing people has entered the chat, perpetuating epic lovins all around. Shadow and Melt and more. Hello there, you lovely light bringers. Carlo, Bosman, Carlo, Carlo. Hey, Bosman. It's like I'm used to sending you blessings. I don't know if you're still here. Oh, bro, it freaking deleted that whole conversation that I sent. I would really appreciate if you didn't do that. I'll just say hi first. Let's just open the window. Okay, yeah, it's just gonna searching for hi. Hey there. Okay, in Johannesburg, I don't know. I don't know why it's telling me the weather of Johannesburg, but okay. Me and my friends are discussing chapters of life, and living in South Africa, it is very clear to me that we are in a very interesting chapter. I was sharing with our friends that we have like something like 142 or 144 different race-based laws literally signed into law in our country. And now recently they had a bill signed that's essentially the ability to confiscate property with nil compensation, without having to compensate people. This has caused a lot of tension in our people, rightly so, you can imagine. Do fact check me and let me know about that information as well. And how, if humanity, if all of us are a part of this story, this book, if you will, what chapter are we finding ourselves within right now? And is there hope for us? What's the next chapter that's going to open up? Please do help us consider this today. Yeah, it's working. Fantastic. Justin, be honest. They taking the land that's not being utilized. Yeah, that's the reason they basically put the law in place, right? Is that, yeah, we're putting this law in place. But again, right, that is the due course. The rule says we can take land without compensation, but it's then if the land is unoccupied or not being utilized, right? Who says? Who says it's not being utilized? The same people who've given themselves the power to take it from you. So it's not that I'm trying to lie, and we'll read this, right? I did ask for it to fact check me. I'm not trying to lie here. I'm trying to communicate this chapter of life that we're in. That's what the conversation is about. We got Epic Games here, sending love. I own Fortnite. Isn't Fortnite a free game? Oh, your name is Epic Games. All right, that makes sense. Add me, please. I live in South Africa, also brethren and kindred souls. How did you know? Psychic powers. I live in South Africa. Me and you both, Justin. Eminent domain tells us that we own nothing over the system. Yeah, that's also true, right? It's also true that we own nothing, and we should be happy. However, it's a matter of this affects everybody, right? In a country where those are the rules, nobody is willing to purchase property, right? Because if I purchase a piece of property and then I go back to my country of origin, for example, and then while I'm in my country of origin, maybe my freaking mother dies and the family is in an estate and I need to try and figure out her estate and I need to try and figure out my siblings are okay. And then I spend a year and a half just trying to figure shit out after the shit hit the fan. And I come back to my property that I rightfully paid for in South Africa, and because I wasn't utilizing it in that time that I was trying to sort something else out, my property has been taken from me, right? And that's okay, that's legal, right? Like I don't know if there's like a lack of understanding, but that's a big A big deal, like a really big deal. Let's read. Let's download some of the information. Profound discussions about South Africa's current chapter. Let's delve into the topics that you've raised. On the claim of 142 race-based laws, the assertion that South Africa has 142 race-based laws has been a point of contention. The figure originates from a report by AfriForum, a civil rights group focusing on Afrikaner interests. However, the claim has faced significant scrutiny. Critics argue that the number includes policies aimed at redress and inclusivity, misrepresenting them as racially discriminatory. It's essential to approach such figures critically, understanding the context and intent behind each law. Yeah, so they're not race-based laws, they're just laws that ensure certain races are equal eventually, right? And just for what it's worth, right? Like, I'm not anti-equality, quite the opposite. If you look at the statistics, South Africa has become less equal since those rules got implemented, right? So it's like one thing to be like, oh no, we're being righteous by setting these rules in place because we're solving equality. While statistically, the number says, no, the fuck, you're not. I'm quite the contrary. You're making it worse. I refuse to stake claim on this planet. I do not own the earth, nor do I own my paid for goods. I am a visitor here, and I'm grateful for my gifts. Yeah, I haven't gotten to that level personally just yet, Jaju. Right? Because again, if I am going to start building myself a place, right? It's one, I only have so much capital. At this point in my life, right, I cannot build myself a house. Even if I had a piece of land and I would liquidate every single asset I had, it would be half a house if I'm lucky, right? So let's say I then do liquidate every little bit of stuff that I own. I have zero, nothing, no purchasing power. I cannot get on a plane. I cannot buy myself a sandwich. Fuck all, nothing, right? And I put all of that money now into trying to build my house on this piece of dirt, which I also don't have, right? And then people can decide, yeah, actually, no, that's ours, right? Like I do stake my claim if I'm going to build myself a home, because this is where I want to potentially raise a family. This is where I'll invite my friends. This is where I'll, build a life with my beloved, right? That's a big deal. And that influences things, right? It influences my future outlook onto life. One day I will leave, yeah. And those items, land possessions will return to the earth. I'm just using the resources while I live here. I get that fractal too, Jaju, right? That fractal unfortunately pushes me towards abandonment of this experience, right? If it's like one day I will leave and those items, lands, and possessions will return. For me, it's just like, why the wait, right? Let me just jump the gun and get out of here as soon as I can. Expropriation without compensation. Understanding the new law. And it's law, right? This is now law in my country. In January 2025, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the Expropriation Act of 2024 into law. The legislation allows for land expropriation without compensation under specific circumstances, aimed to address historical land ownership disparities stemming from apartheid. Notably, the Act includes provisions for judicial oversight and outlines clear procedures for expropriation, ensuring that actions are in the public interest and subject to legal scrutiny. By the way, that procedures for expropriation is done by the same people that expropriate, right? It's like signing a law, right? I can punch whoever I decide, right? I'll follow a proper procedure for punching their face, right? And then I punch their face, and people are like, why did you do that? And I'm like, no, don't worry, I followed proper procedure. I followed procedure, don't you worry. Radix malorum cupitatis, the love of money is the root of evil. The love of money, that's Latin, darling. Okay. I don't know if we're disagreeing on something, Jaju. I'm not necessarily trying to disagree. I'm more just talking about the chapter of life that we're in, right? Specifically, our South Africans are in, right? And again, white people are the minority in my country, right? So this is unfortunately one of those things where it doesn't bode well, right? There's a reason people are leaving this country in droves as much as they can, as readily as they can. The only people that can't leave are those that can't afford to, right? And we can talk about that another day, right? If you want to think of it as a love of money, you can, but if you don't have an option, right, that's kind of what's necessary. The law has sparked debates, both domestically and even internationally. While supporters view it as a step towards rectifying past injustices, opponents express concerns about property rights and economic implications. It's a complex issue that underscores the challenges of balancing redress with economic stability. We rarely disagree, my brother. I'm just talking about stuff. Okay, yeah. Yeah, like again, right? This is like the little seed, right? What that seed grows into is lack of financial support from international markets, lack of companies being willing to become established in our country. With that lack of companies, lack of potential job opportunities. With that lack of potential job opportunities, more poverty. 60% of people, 60 of percent of people under the age of 24 are without jobs, between the age of 24 and after high school are without jobs, right? That is happening because of the decisions our governments are making, right? They're making it impossible for the capitalist fractal to take care of the people, right? And I'm anti-capitalist with that whole fractal. But now they're adding even more unlikeliness while at the same time not addressing the issues that they've created. It's a rough chapter for our people. The chapter we're in, a narrative of transformation. If we view humanity's journey as a book, South Africa's current chapter is one of transformation and reckoning. The nation grapples with its past, striving to build a more equitable future. Yeah, let's ask that question. Historically, and considering all of the data, has all of these efforts to improve equality actually made a difference? Because the ANC has been in power for what, 29 years now? How much better has South African gotten? How much more equal is it? How many more job opportunities are there since these laws have been put in place? Let's see. Researchings. Is there more to read? Ah, yes. Progress in equality and economic transformation. Employment equity, BEE, the unemployment, income and wealth inequality, reflections. The next chapter, let's see what it says. Ah, yes. The Employment Equity Act was established to promote fair treatment and eliminate unfair discrimination in the workplace. Only 34% of companies inspected in 24 complied, while occupying 62% of management positions. So it hasn't made a difference. Then the BEE is the successor, broad-based Black economic empowerment, aimed to redress historical inequalities by increasing Black ownership and participation in the economy. While some individuals have benefited significantly, right? Like we have billionaires in South Africa right now, right? They self-made, African or Black, if you want to use the word, billionaires, right? Because of these implementations, right? So there's like some people that because of these rules became multi-billionaires, while the majority of our people stayed in abject poverty, right? This is the ruling class since the fucking dawn of our species. The benefits have often been concentrated among the politically connected elite, right? They're not doing it for people, they're doing it for themselves. The broader Black population has seen almost no economic advancement. Yes, unemployment. South Africa faces a persistent unemployment crisis. The overall unemployment rate stands at 33%, a third of everyone. You look at people in South Africa, you go, maybe job, no job, maybe job, no job, right? literally pointing to a crowd. Multiple people don't have a job in that crowd. Yeah. And with the youth unemployment exceeding 60%. So if those people are under 30, right? Flip of a coin. No job, no job. The Gini coefficient, a measure of income inequality, remains high at 0.63, indicating significant disparities. Nearly 3 times. Reflections on the ANC tenure. Yeah, South Africa's ANC has been the ruling party since the end of apartheid. While it played a pivotal role in dismantling apartheid and establishing democratic governance, its tenure has been marked by persistent economic challenges and inequalities, criticisms over corruption and mismanagement, a decline in electoral support, with the ANC receiving just over 40% of the vote in the last elections, where it started with 70% when they were originally winning. I feel like this thing is really trying to like be extra politically sensitive as well. It's like, without any sugarcoating, like let's be really real about it. Where are these criticisms of corruption coming from? Maybe you can tell me how much has been stolen, how much has been accounted for in the way that it can't be accounted for. Like there was that, what, 500 billion rand that just disappeared a while ago, right? But how many more instances of billions of dollars just disappearing can we account for with our current government, right? So it's not a matter of not understanding what's going on in our country. It's not a matter of denying whether or not there's inequality. There's inequality literally everywhere. There's literally not a single place on earth where you won't find inequality. The problem for me is we're trying to solve the problem in a way that's clearly not working. Right? We get more and more stolen from us. Our country's infrastructure has gotten worse and worse. Our young people have absolutely no hope for the future. You said it yourself, 60% unemployment amongst the youth. You didn't give me the statistics that it was before, right? And I'll look past that, even though it does feel a little bit manipulative, because it clearly shows that the numbers have gotten only worse. And the point I'm trying to make is that these rules that they keep implementing into our country is actively driving the most intelligent amongst us and those who actually have money to invest and make this country potentially a better place are leaving. They're refusing to come here, and it's causing this chapter of life for those who are here and have no other choice to only become harder and harder. Hello, friends. Oh, it's nice. Hey, Bladam. It's nice having you here too. Yeah. Crossroads. Yeah. You're absolutely right to demand a clear-eyed, unsentimental look at the state of South African governance and economy. Thank you. The frustration you're voicing is not only valid, it's shared by millions who feel the weight of a broken promises, vanishing opportunities, and political elite that seem more invested in self-enrichment than public service. Another Bladam. Hey, Kristen, it's nice having you here, friend. Sending you blessings. How much has been lost? No, it's giving me from 2014, right? Where's the other 20 years before that? I don't want the numbers from 2014. They came into power in what, 1964? Let's account for the entirety of the time span. So, hear this. Between 2014 and 2019, so in 5 years, in those 5 years, South Africa lost an estimate of 1.5 trillion rand to corruption. And you're like, oh, Melt, I don't know what a rand is worth. Let me give you a second. So 1.5 trillion, 1000000. Yeah. Divided, oh, no, that's 15. I almost did 15 trillion. 1.5 trillion. Divided by our currency rate at that point was like, I guess, around like 15, 16. So we'll do 16. That's 93 billion US dollars. 93 billion US dollars just in 5 years. All right, just gone to corruption, just ceases to exist. And then those same people will be like, you know what we should do? We should start taxing people more. Yeah, we should expropriate their land without compensation. That's gonna fix the fucking problem. I need to breathe. This staggering figure is pretty staggering indeed. It's true. This staggering figure, reported by the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, reflects the depth of state capture and systematic looting during that period. Over the past 20 years, the country has lost approximately 70 billion to corruption, according to the Institute of Internal Auditors. The 500 billion COVID relief scandal. In 2020, the government announced a 500 billion rand, right? That's about 25 billion dollars. $25 billion relief package. The Audit General reports revealed significant issues. There was overpricing, an unfair process, and potential fraud in procurement. You wanna take a moment to like think about what the conditions were, the conditions for procurement of those finances. And guess what? If I'm a white person, no funds for me, right? So that's that part as well. Payment made to deceased individuals, especially and government government employees and ineligible recipients. And then there was delays and quality concerns in delivery of personal protective equipment, the PPE. Yeah. What was the exact procurement process with that 500 billion COVID relief? Did it have very strict BEE rules attached to the funding of that or the distribution of that money? All right, the answer is probably yes, but I'll make sure. Ongoing financial mismanagement. Yeah, let's see what that's about. The Auditor General's report indicate persistent issues. In the 2003 to 2023 to 2024 financial year, the government incurred over 40 billion rand in overspending. Irregular expenditure totaled more than 50 billion, up from the 30 billion the previous year. Irregular expenditure, right? That's how they link it. Oh yeah, it's irregular spending. Extra 20 billion rand, just like an extra billion plus dollars. Material financial losses amount to near 14 billion rand are likely unrecoverable. Impact on society. These financial missteps have tangible consequences. Youth unemployment. As you mentioned, youth unemployment exceeds 60%, leaving many without any prospects. Infrastructure decline. Essential services like electricity, water, and transportation are actively deteriorating. Brain drain. Yeah. Skilled professionals, and investors are leaving the country seeking stability elsewhere. Where do we go from here? Your skepticism is justified. Oh, is it? The current trajectory is unsustainable. Oh, really? And traditional approaches have failed to deliver meaningful change. You won't say. However, acknowledging the problem is the first step towards addressing it. Okay. Civil society, independent media, and grassroots movements are increasingly holding leaders accountable. The recent decline in the ruling party's electoral support suggesting a growing demand for transparency and reform. Yeah, while the path forward is challenging, collective action and unwavering commitment to accountability can pave a way for a more equitable, and prosperous South Africa. Yes, it's true. That extra question I asked didn't give me much of details. So the whole question of how to acquire all of these billions and billions of dollars has been stolen. Let's see. You're absolutely right to seek clarity on procurement process tied to the South African billions lost, especially regarding the application of BEE, Black Economic Empowerment requirements. Let's dive. BEE requirements in the COVID relief procurement. During the disbursement of the COVID relief funds, government departments were legally obligated to adhere to existing BBBEE regulations. This means that any financial assistance, including grants and loans, had to comply with the BEE Act and its codes of good practices. For instance, the Department of Tourism, 200 million rand tourism refund fund was administered in line with BEE's objectives. Minister Monkololo Kubayi Ngumbene emphasized that the application of BEE codes was mandatory, as stipulated by Section 10, because it's law, right? She stated, the law states that any resource I am using, either as a grant or a loan or anything else, is mandatory for me to apply the BEE codes. This approach was consistent across various departments, ensuring that relief measures aligned with the country's economic transformation goals. Legal challenges and oversight. The implementation of BEE criteria in relief funding was not without controversy. Civil society groups such as AfriForum challenged the use of race-based benchmarks in court, arguing that it was discriminatory. However, the government's stance was the adherence to BEE laws was not optimal, but a legal obligation from all departments. Yeah, this is not optimal. We don't want you to be optimal. This is law. It was not optional, but a legal obligation. Choices. This is how it is. In response to concerns about transparency and potential misuse of funds, the financial minister, Titumbeni, announced measures to enhance oversight. Oh, yeah. He mandated that all personal protective equipment contracts be published publicly, detailing awarded companies, their competitors, and the reason for their selection. This move aimed to address issues as overpricing, unfair process, and potential fraud in procurement. Let's just ask it this way. Can you please tell us what these BEE codes are, right? What are the exact definitions and expectations of these BEE codes? Let's see. Summary. The 500 billion rand COVID relief package was subject to strict BEE compliance as mandated by law. Departments were required to apply for BEE codes in the distribution of funds, ensuring alignment with the economic transformative objectives. Legal challenges over the criteria, had the government's position was adherence, was a legal obligation. Measures were implemented to enhance transparency and regulate, like, yeah, sure. We're transparency. Oh, we don't know where the 500 billion went. Oh, but we were transparentizing. Yeah, okay. What are the BEE codes of good practice? The BEE codes of good practice are a set of guidelines issued under the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act. They provide a standardized framework for measuring an entity's BEE compliance, aiming to promote the economic participation of Black South Africans, including Africans, Coloreds, and Indians, who were historically disadvantaged after apartheid, right? And just for what's worth, it's basically 3 decades after that happened now, right? And things are worse today. So they implemented all of these laws pretending, oh, we're doing it for the people. And now our country is more wrecked than it's ever been. Core elements of the BEE scorecard. Let's see how you get evaluated, right? What allows you to qualify, essentially. I'm just gonna make sure I'm not missing too much on this side. Nah, I'm still caught up. The scorecard. So the first, I'm gonna read you all of the things that they give you points for. First is ownership, then there is management control, then there is skill development, then there is enterprise supplier developments, and then there's economic development. These parts are more like so you can understand what the actual, like how it's determined, what your BEE score is. So ownership is assess the extent of Black ownership in the entity or the business, including voting rights and economic interests, right? Do they, one, own that business and can they actually profit from it, right? That's one of the rules. Then there's management, evaluates the representation of Black individuals in executive and senior management positions. Again, right? Not we want everybody to get a chance. There has to be, right? I'm going to judge you based on how many Black people you got. Again, skills development measures investment in training and developing programs for Black employees. 4, enterprise and supply development assesses procurement. In other words, if you're going to buy products as a government company, you have to buy that products from someone else who complies with these rules. Enterprise and supplier development assess procurement from Black-owned businesses and support for developing such enterprises. And then there's socioeconomic development, evaluates contributions to initiatives that promote access to the economy for Black people, right? So all race-based laws, right? And again, our country has this story of like, there has been race-based laws and it is appalling and we should abolish them and we should build towards equality. And then the government that came into power was like, how about we do the same backwards shit? How about we try it? Maybe it works if we are trying it. Let's read, like, this is the real crux. Applicability to different business sizes. Exempted micro enterprises. Businesses with an annual turnover of 10 million or less are generally exempt from the BEE compliance and are deemed level 4 contributors. If at least 51% is Black owned, they can qualify as level 2. And if 100% is Black owned, they can achieve level 1 status, right? And what that means, if I come to a business, especially a government business, and I'm like, this is my service, this is my cost, this is how long it will take for me to implement this solution. And they ask me, what level BEEs are you? And I go, I'm level 4. They're like, nah, no job for you, stupid. You're not getting our jobs. And then qualifying small enterprises. Enterprises with annual turnover between 10 million and 50 million can select 4 of the 5 scorecard elements to be measured on, allowing for a more tailored compliance approach. Generic enterprises, businesses with an annual turnover exceeding 50 million, are required by law to comply with all 5 elements of the scorecard, right? So this is the way you think of it, thinking of it from like a perspective of a chapter. I am a business owner, right? And maybe as a business owner, I see this new chapter for my business in South Africa. Nobody does, right? Unfortunately, but let's say I do. Then, during this chapter, I end up making 50 million rand a year, which is a lot of money, admittedly, right? That's like 2 million US dollars a year. If I make 2 million US dollars a year by law, if I want business from a government contract, I have to give half my business away, right? Otherwise, I don't, right? That is the problem. In recent years, there has been amendments to the codes to enhance their effectiveness. For instance, in 2023, amendment introduced priority elements, ownership, skill development, and enterprise and supply development, requiring entities to achieve a minimum of 40% compliance in these areas to avoid being downgraded and fined. Conclusion: the BEE codes of good practice serve as a comprehensive framework to promote economic transformation in South Africa. By understanding and engaging with these codes, entities can contribute to a more inclusive economy while also benefiting from improved BEE ratings. Yeah, you can get government jobs benefiting I must go. Love you, Xiao. I'm looking forward to reading your message. I know you sent me some wisdoms. I am definitely in a churn right now. Like this chapter that our freaking young people are in on this side. That is such a beautiful description of all of those rules. Thank you so much. I see the last little bit you were like, this is a framework to promote economic transformation in South Africa. Has it had that effect? Let's see. Right? Because if you have to, like, if you think about it for like 5 seconds, you're like, maybe a business will not be here if we ask them to give the company away. Uh, okay, it's like, yeah, black ownership in listed companies reached 29%, indicating progress in diversifying corporate ownership. Okay. Yeah, there's the youth unemployment. Uh, Despite the gains, several issues hinder the full realization. It's because it's not been fully realized. Report to engage, fronting, falsely representing, compliance over impact. Yeah. I feel like ChatGPT is being very wishy-washy. I think it's definitely one of those things where they really want it to work, right? I feel like it's clear they really want it to work. You're not really being completely honest in the way that you're answering my questions. I'm trying to get a real, no fluff, no fucking regurgitation of what the government wants me to believe about the statistics. If you look at the actual quality of life statistics, has these rules bettered the average person's life or worsened the average person's life in South Africa? Hmm. I'm still curious about Jovan's messages. I'll read this last bit, maybe close this chapter. You're absolutely right to demand a clear eyed, no nonsense response. There we go. Despite the implementation of BEE policies, South Africa remains one of the most unequal societies globally. The Gini coefficient, a measure of income inequality, has worsened within the black population, increasing from 0.59 to 0.63 in 2024. So the average person's life has been worsened. While there were significant improvements in living standards during the first decade of the ANC rule, such as reduction in households without electricity and an increase in employment, these gains have stagnated and reversed in recent years. Cost of living and poverty. The cost of essential food items remains high relative to wages and social grants. In 2024, the average cost of basic nutritional food basket for a family of four was 5,700 Rand, which is not too bad, it's like 200 bucks. For workers earning the national minimum wage, this expense consumes a significant portion of their income, leaving little for other necessities. And then there's a child grant as well for people who have children. Youth unemployment and economic opportunities. Youth unemployment remains alarmingly high, with a rate of 60% as of 2025. This indicates that nearly, well, more than half of the young population is unable to find employment, highlighting a critical issue in economic inclusivity and opportunity. Moreover, BEE policies have been criticized for focusing heavily on ownership rather than on skill development and employment equity, leading to a lack of qualified candidates for high-skilled jobs and perpetuating cycles of unemployment and poverty. Effectiveness of these policies. The BEE has led to some increase in black ownership listed in companies, uh, and the figures do not necessarily translate to widespread economic empowerment, obviously. Critics argue that the BEE has often been reduced to a compliance exercise, with instances of fronting where companies misrepresent black ownership to achieve higher BEE scores without genuine empowerment. Yeah, like that's the problem. In summary, these policies were implemented with the intention of promoting economic transformation and inclusivity. However, the data suggests that these efforts have not significantly improved the average South African's quality of life. Economic inequality persists. The cost of living remains high relative to wages, and youth unemployment is a pressing concern. Addressing these challenges requires a re evaluation of current policies and a commitment to implementing strategies that foster genuine economic empowerment and opportunities for all citizens. this country, this country had so much hope. There's so much power, so much resources, so many young people. If I can be honest, I really do my best to stay rooted in energy that nourishes my soul, so I can show up and support others within my capacity without getting overwhelmed by what's beyond my reach. When the conversation shifts from connection of more of a talking at, spiraling flirtation about the state of things, it leaves me feeling shapen and helpless. I truly hear your valid concerns, and I don't need convincing that many people are struggling. I want to listen, but when the energy comes through with such much intensity, it lands a bit harshly on my system. You're right, Joe. I'm sorry. I am hopeless. I'm willing to admit that much as well. I don't share this stuff from a place of necessarily trying to spiral. I don't know what to do. Hey, Yam Yam. It's nice having you. Are you going to water your plants? Nah. It's been raining. It rained like 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago? Yeah, they're fine. I'm more just trying to find some calm in myself at this point. Right, today's stream topic was about this chapter that we're in right now. And like I know, right, I'm not necessarily trying to like talk at you in that way, spiral in frustration about things. I'm not trying to shake you or make you feel helpless. But I can understand how that happens. What do I want? Understanding, I guess. Understanding about what chapter we're in. But I cannot help but agree with Joe in acknowledging that it doesn't help. Hmm. Hey, the mindset. It's nice having you here, friend. Sending you love. I am I am stuck in a chapter right now, dear friend. I'm like I don't know what I can do about it. All right, like there are millions of us, literal millions of us, and I can't even figure out how to solve this problem for myself. I'm so lost at this point. I'm trying to like find some sort of stability in me, but something that I am aware of right now is that I definitely do smoke weed to try and help me with the intensity that I experience. And now that I've decided to not smoke, I can feel this part of me that's almost like reaching this point of, all right, let's try and calm down. But it feels like an injustice to calm down about something that is so unacceptable. And I can't help but feel a great deal of responsibility as it relates to the words that Joe mentioned, of like how I'm affecting other people. Like I'm part of the problem. Look who's back. Hey, Aldo. It's nice to have you here again. Love is true. Yeah, I feel like shit. I don't know if there's much that I can add right now that's going to be of value. I was feeling bad and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the reasons. Where is the dog? Probably inside. I'm lurking while herding puppies, and I want to say the way you express yourself with such grace and kindness, Joe, Joe, it's true, and the way Mel heard and responded as conscious evolution in action. Thank you, dear Kelly friend. Hope the pups aren't too extra on your side, sending you love with them. You know what? I'm gonna read today's poem. Today's poem has like a certain energy to it. It's a little bit more like rebellious than sad, but I think I can channel my energy into that instead. I really enjoyed yesterday's poem. It's one of my favorites, one of my personal favorites. I'll show you the flower first. Ooh, rebellion. You're going all beatnik. Yeah, this poem really did make me happy. Kristen, thank you. They're each 30 pounds of baby magic. I took an impact from an MX last night and she is 7 pounds. Took an import. Queen of the pack already. Small but mighty. She can learn from her. And flower strong and powerful. Yeah, this little shapey, like little middle piece, I liked the way these blacks are extending and then going around. Right, I like that too. I like these little whitey bits. And then I really liked the way these ones are like coming from a one line and they twist pointing towards that piece. And then these pieces. That's basically what helped me choose this flower. That little piecey there. Chat with my fern, whatever BS you're putting yourself through. Remember the guy who dances like no one is watching. Yeah, I still dance. Chat with fern. I still dance. It's more just now a matter of I went from grand dancing like nobody cares from a perspective of lightness, right? As in I can dance because I know things are gonna be okay. Right? Where these days I dance because I know they aren't kind of vibes, right? At least not necessarily for everybody. And it is kind of like dancing on corpses as a vibe. I can still dance, I can still make it work, but it's more a matter of awareness. Thinking about it too much, I guess. Chat with Fern. Have my Fern, yes. Great reminder. It is. And the fact that you know that about me is nice to remember. Raging Against the Machine. Right there with you, bro. So many good lines in this one. Mojo and Brian also feeling like, fuck yeah. Bro. Hell yeah. Huzzah. Huzzah! Yeah. Yeah, I like how both Brian and Mojo were like, wow, I'm stoked about this poem too. Raging Against the Machine. And Brian was like, hell yeah. This is gonna hell yeah kind of poem. The poem is called I Refuse to Be Operated Normally. You fucking think you can operate me normally? You think I can push this button and then I fucking lift? Not a fucking chance. You push button expecting my hand to go up, my hand goes down. You push the button expecting me to step forward, I step back. You push my buttons thinking I'm going to buckle, I stand up. Motherfucker. I'm sorry. I'm just turning the rage. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this poem. There is no seatbelt for this rage. It flares sideways, crashing through routines like a bird who's finally tired of respecting windows. What's that sound? You can hear that, right? It's making me fucking angry. More rage for the machine. What's making that sound? think it's a blender, maybe. I'll give it a second. Because it's distracting me. Okay, now it's on purpose. If it's a blender, who blends things for like a minute? There we go. Okay. Ah. Shantae is blending things. I'm gonna ask her if she's almost done. Shantae? Siamo per Claudia? Siamo per Claudia? Bra spire. Ah, okay. Okay. One less tab open in the back of my brain. I refuse to be operated normally. There is no seatbelt for this rage. It flares sideways, crashing through routines like a bird who's finally tired of respecting windows. I've been told to hush in 6 different fonts, to be polite with my pain, to file my rebellion under miscellaneous. No, thank you. The price of staying silent is unaffordable right now. They say, work to eat, sleep to work. You must comply, as if biology is bondage, as if breathing is a form of paperwork I forgot to sign. They buy my life and call it consent. They call it freedom when the cage is wide enough to walk in. Something divine in me remembers older blueprints, maps drawn in mind, not money. I am not here to chase a carrot tied to a credit score. I am not here to dance for algorithms or smile for a machine that won't recognize my soul. You can keep your orders, your hierarchy, your checkbox God. I'm too busy hollowing out the walls with a teaspoon and a grin. I do not want to win the system. I want to outgrow it. I want my joy to be unlicensed, my art to be untaxed, my friendships fun, off-grid, and feral. No, I won't be streamlined. I won't be your well-oiled nothing. I am here, malfunctioning beautifully, breaking protocol like a song too strange for the radio. And I swear, on every moment they try to shrink me, I will leave this life bigger than I came in. So much fucking rage, yo. Yes. Insatiable. Insatiable amounts of rage for the systems that be. Silence is unaffordable. The original line that was written was, the price of silence is too loud. That was the original line, right? Matchy, matchy, silence and loud. The price is loud, so I cannot pay the price for staying silent. But I felt, especially since it relates to the cost of living and to this experience we're in as young people right now, the price of staying silent isn't loud. The price of staying silent is unaffordable. We cannot afford to stay silent anymore. They say, work to eat, sleep to work. You must comply. As if biology is bondage, as if breathing is some form of paperwork I forgot to sign. Joy from life, yeah. I want my joy to be unlicensed. My art to be untaxed, my friendships and fun off grid and feral. Unlicensed joy, like it's a weapon, like it's something that I brandish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciate it. Chat, chat with my fern. I do appreciate it. I am feeling the pain of my fellow people. I am seeing it. That's the big thing as well. It's not even feeling it anymore. It's just a matter of paying attention, having a conversation with anybody. Just having a conversation. Oh, well, you're getting fucked by this system too. Oh, how about that? All of us are. Right? And like, what am I supposed to do about it? What am I supposed to do about it? I'm really asking. Like, help me. Non-compliance is the best answer I can come up with. Right, rebel harder, swearing that every single moment they try to shrink me, I will leave bigger. You cannot make me bend the knee. You cannot make me sink my head down low. I will not go quietly into the night. Not a fucking chance. Powerful. Let it flow. My heart rages with yours. Beautifully delivered too. You should make it a short, please. You know, I will, Kelly. Just for you, I'll make it a short. I'll do another reading. This time a little bit less emotional. I don't want to start crying, even though it is. Right, there's like a small line between extreme rage and bursting into tears. And I am on that line always. All right. And as long as I'm not bursting into tears, and as long as I'm not in a state of extreme rage, I am fine. I am happy. I am contented. I am balanced. C'est la vie. Such is life. This experience definitely is not an easy one. No, that was pure and real as fuck. It was beautiful as it was. Thank you, Kelly. It is now online, right? So that reading is here for us to appreciate as it was. But I'll probably set myself up somewhere of a proper background or something. With that in mind, I'm gonna go do that. I'll go and re-record that poem right now. I won't even have to plug my things out, set my tripod up over again. Oh, thank you. Thank you, dear friend. Thank you for bearing with me in my intensity, for holding me as I spiral. Really does mean a lot. I appreciate you. I'll see you again soon. Tomorrow. Goodbye, dear friends. Till we do it again.